the Leon Charney Report. And now, here is your host, Leon Charney.
Hi, I'm Leon Charney, and this is the Leon Charney Report, and we're talking to you from Jerusalem, Israel, and we're talking to you from the office of Rabbi Ravitz, who is a very powerful man in the Knesset today. We're in the Knesset, and the big issue today in the Knesset is whether a budget will be passed, because there are tremendous ramifications here. In the event a budget is not passed by law on December 31st, the Prime Minister would then have 4 months to try to figure this thing out, and if he doesn't figure it out in 4 months, the whole caboodle of the Knesset goes down. Rabbi Ravitz, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You are one of the leading members of Degel Ha'torah. Degel Ha'torah's platform is basically no giving up on the West Bank, no giving up on Judea and Samaria. Is this correct or incorrect?
No, it's not correct.
Okay.
We believe that Israel is our promised land, and God gave us the land. And for us, the land of Israel is not just a place to live, it's a value. But as in private life, you sometimes have a conflict between values. So a people, a nation, also sometimes we are in a conflict between values. And human life is a very important value. And so then, if this is the situation, if the alternative is sometimes to give up one value, we have to judge which one is more important at the same moment, at the historical moment. So we wouldn't like to give away our land, our promised land, or the land of which says in the Bible so many times that God gave us. But we have also a saying that v'chai b'hem, that we have to live. And we don't want to kill other people also. It's also valued by us. So we have to judge, and if the situation comes up that for a time in the history we have to back up from our land, so we might have to make a compromise in order we should be able to live, should be able to build our homes, and if we would be deserved to get from God more land in the future, we'll get it.
So what would be the position of the Oslo Agreement to Degel Ha'torah? What is your position on that?
Well, we're not sure that the position, that the Oslo Agreement was a good one. But we're talking today after it was signed already. And the question is today, what are you doing with the Oslo Agreement?
Right.
Because it's signed by the past government, and our position is that we have to go on with the Oslo Agreement, but go on very carefully. And our position is, like in business, like in your private life, if you go to a direction, you have to know the end of the road, where you're going to. Therefore, I think it's very important for Israel to go in right now to negotiations about the final decision, about the final agreement. How would Israel look like together or not together on the borders, and all the questions which will be in our future. In other words, before we are moving, we have to know what will be the end of the story. Therefore, we support very much the position of Mr. Netanyahu that we should go into negotiations right now with the Palestinians, together with America, to make the last agreement, the final agreement, and then after we know this, we could move through this Oslo agreement.
You're well aware that the Oslo Agreement was witnessed by the Americans. Do you think the Americans are putting pressure on Israel now? I know Secretary of Albright is putting some kind of pressure. Maybe not, maybe yes. What's your feeling about that?
Well, I have to tell you, first of all, that I agree that America, as a friend of Israel and a friend who helps Israel all those years, they have a position, they have a point. They could, together as partners, they could interfere and tell us what they think about the political situation. But they have to do it in a minor way in order not to pressure, just to convince. And they're allowed to convince us. And we have to listen to America. But America is not allowed to put a pressure. They have to try to convince as partners, as friends. Because I think if it will be a pressure, so-called, it might bring a reaction, a negative reaction of the Israeli population that wouldn't like to be natives of America.
You could get McDonald's kosher if you were. A lot of good things could happen if you're native. You mean the 51st state, huh?
Well, I don't think America would like to take upon their shoulder our budget.
You're obviously very involved in all religious facets of Judaism, and you know that in the United States there's a movement by the Reform and the Conservative to try and facilitate themselves into a very strong position in Israel, and they want to upset what is called the status quo, which was started by Ben Gurion, and basically they want a sophisticated right, in the sense to have what they think is equality. Obviously, I'm sure your position is different on that. Could you explain to our audience what your position is?
Well, I could tell you that I'm in a dilemma because I'm a Democrat, and I think that's the only system that we could adapt as a system of living our public life. And as a Democrat, I agree that every group, if they want to come to Israel and to be in Israel and to live their own life, as a Democrat, I think we have to give them the opportunity. But I don't think that they have the right to force me as a religious Jew to give up and to believe that the Jewish religion is a pluralistic. They can't. In the name of pluralism, they can't force me to give up my belief that the Bible, the Word of God that we are carrying on already more than 3,000 years, I should say that this is just like a supermarket. Everyone could come and say that Judaism is something else. He could say it, but he can't force me. I should accept it. And here's the problem. They want us here in Israel. We should accept the idea that the Jewish faith, the Jewish religion, is not a definite kind. It's something that you could move around to which direction you like to. In other words, to make it as a supermarket. We don't believe in it. We do believe we are taking the religious very, very serious as a part of our life. We believe that the Jewish religion is telling us to keep the commandments, which is saying in the Torah, in the Bible. And just not something that you do what you feel. So, if it would be a group of people, any kind of people, who would live here in Israel, and I could tell you this, that we have a lot of kinds of religions here in Israel. So, If it would be any kind of group of people, they would say they would be big enough. They have to be big enough. Right now, the Reform are very, very little here in Israel, very small group. But if it would be a group, a big group, they would say, we want to do our way of observing our faith, our religion, or not religion. I think Reform is not a religion. But anyhow, if they would say, we want to do it, as a Democrat, I would say, give every group to do their services as they want. But we have to remember, they can't force us to say that the Jewish religion is something different than what we believe.
But that's very interesting. You're saying if the Reform, hypothetically, had a majority of the country...
Not even a majority, even if there would be a minority, a group, that they wanted to have their own services.
Right.
They could do it for themselves, but they can't force us to accept that this is the Jewish religion.
And be part of the state of Israel's laws.
In Israel, you have all kind of groups, minority, big groups, small groups. It's an open country, and we don't want to change the system. But at the same time, we don't want someone to force us to leave our belief about Jewish religion.
Do you think this is a very severe problem in Israel, or it's overstated in America?
It's overstating. It's not a problem of the Israeli society.
I agree with you, because I can't find many people who find this a big issue.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on here. In Israel, it became a combination between the Reform in the United States and those who are far away from religion, Meretz, the political group,
right,
which they are officially atheist,
right,
and they made a combination to fight against the religion. Everyone has his own reason why he's doing it, but they made a combination. The Americans are bringing the money, and the Meretz group are bringing their people, and you have such a big noise, like you could think that you have two people here.
Yeah, in America it's a huge issue, but I can't find anybody in Israel who thinks that this is a tremendous issue.
It's not an issue at all.
Rabbi, you're an interesting man. You were principal of a few yeshivot, which is schools of learning. What brought you to politics?
Wow, that's a good question. I was being asked, and I'm a good person, so I say yes. Rav Shach, he called me once about 10 years ago, and he explained me why he made a new political party, and he asked me I should be the head of this party and run to the Knesset. Well, yes and no, because I was always involved with public issues. Anyhow, he asked me, and he didn't give me too much time to think it over.
How much?
I told him I have to ask to go home.
Your wife?
Ask my wife, and he said, well, someone find the telephone system, so call her. And then it was after half an hour, I didn't have a choice, I say yes.
And you're here for 10 years now.
10 years, that's right.
All right, we're going to cut. We're going to cut for a commercial break and come back with this very interesting man, Rabbi Ravitz, who's head of the finance, and he's in charge of the budget right now. And then we're going to ask him some tough questions. Hopefully they'll be resolved, but if it doesn't get itself resolved, then talk about the budget, what happens. We'll be right back. We're back. We're talking to Rabbi Avraham Ravitz, who is head of the Degel Ha'torah. He was a learned, he still is a learned man, but he was using his learning for students till 10 years ago, and he got a call from Rabbi Shach, who said, Rabbi, we need you to form this new party, Degel Ha'torah, and here he is. And now he's in charge of the budget, which is a terrific issue in the country. Is it exciting to be head of the budget committee with everybody probably after? You must be 50 lobbyists outside telling you to put little things into the budget. How's it feel? And you look tired, although you look healthy, because you've been up all night trying to work the budget.
That's right. Well, it's interesting, that's for sure, but...
A lot of pressure on you?
Yes, but I don't feel pressured. I mean, people are trying to pressure on me, but I know my way, and I'm listening. I'm listening to every group, to delegations who are coming here, and sometimes I'm influencing the government to change some paragraphs in the budget, and I think it's very legitimate that delegations are coming to me to explain me different issues that they are very close to. And it's a pressure from the Knesset members, the different Knesset members who are delegating different groups in the Israeli society. We have a lot of work, and I hope that it goes ups and downs, about the budget. But on December 31st,
what happens if
I think we'll have a budget.
And if you didn't have a budget, give me a Talmudic reading.
If we don't have a budget, according to the Israeli law, we are continuing for 3 months with the budget of 1997.
Right.
For 3 months, the same budget.
Right.
And after 3 months, if we don't succeed to bring an agreement of a budget, we're going to election.
There are people like Knesset member Ruby Rivlin and Benny Begin and Meridor, the prince of the Likud party, who told me that in the event the budget was passed in any way tied into another redeployment, which in effect gave rise to the possibility of a Palestinian state, they would walk out of the government. They would use the budget as the thing that they would hang on. And you've heard it from David Levy, who's the head of the Gesher party. Everybody's threatening to walk here on December 25th, but you don't believe it's going to happen, do you?
No, it wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. First of all, I could admire Mrs. Albright, that she understood that she can't put too much of a pressure till December 31st. So nothing would happen and the political issue till then, and wouldn't give a reason to different Knesset members from the left or from the right to leave the government. There's different groups who are, some are populistic groups who maybe they'll have to get something, just politically to give them, a good feeling. But the budget has to go through, and with changes, we made already some very important changes in the budget. Especially, we are dealing with a very heavy issue about the medical situation in Israel, and we made very important changes about it. You have to be aware. You have to use all your knowledge and. You have to be quiet down, calm, and
how many gallons of coffee do you have in that committee?
Yeah, you have to drink coffee, and you have to smile, and you have to yell or something sometimes. Well,
what's the relationship between the finance minister and the chairman of the budget or finance committee? Do you have to work together?
Yeah, we have together, and we work against also. It's not.
Is it adversarial in a sense?
Yeah, I have to tell them about some of the issues, some of the paragraphs that I don't agree, and we are negotiating, and then he has to change it.
United States Congress, the Ways and Means Committee, writes, or basically anything that has to do with money is emanated from that committee. Is that the same here in the Finance Committee?
Yeah, almost the same. We have the same right. Finance Minister Committee, if we are getting from the government a request, but we have to to decide about them. And if we don't agree, we send it back to the government.
I think it's tough for a man like you because you look like you're a very compassionate man. And I think for you to cut out anything that has to do with social welfare, medicine, hospitals, I think it eats at your heart. That's the way you look to me.
Yeah,
I don't think
changes,
it's easy for you.
No, it's not easy. So the changes that I made in this budget was most of them about these issues.
Really?
Yeah.
Compassionate issues.
I didn't agree to accept to cut down the help of children. I sent it back to the government, and the government is in a problem today. They have to find from another source the $500 million shekel, because this was worth $500 million shekel, and I sent it back, and they have to bring alternatives.
It's a problem now with Ofakim and unemployment and closing down of factories. Ofakim is a city, a small little town in south of Israel, and the Prime Minister's visited there, Ehud Barak has visited. It seems everybody's visiting there to try and help. I think about 1,500 jobs that were lost. Am I correct? Is that a huge problem today in Israel, or it's a problem?
It is an international problem, I have to say, because we are moving to a new generation of industrial, and yes, the high tech, and in high tech we are probably maybe the best in the world, or close to the best in the world, but at the same time we are losing the textile and other traditional factories that are asked to move away to countries that you pay a lower salary. Here in Israel we have a law about minimum salary. So if you have a system that you are keeping the minimum salary by law, so those factories that can't afford it, they can't pay it, and they can't compete with the other factories. That's the reason why in Ofakim they close factories. So we are in the middle of changing the generations in our economy, and this is a big question here in Israel. And this a year or two, how will we handle with this changing of generation in the industrial?
Retrain the people.
We have to retrain the people to other kind of training, and this costs a lot of money, and it's not only a money problem. It's an organization. You have to move people, maybe from cities also. We have to have much better roads to move people. Should go work in other cities, not to stick to their own city. So we are in a moving situation, and we really do hope that in a year from today, Israel would reach a very high level among the Western countries in their economy.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's skip to another issue, because I know you're involved. The Generali Insurance Company is setting up a fund to compensate Holocaust victims, and it's a very strong. It's not a problem. It's an issue in the United States, a very big issue, and I know that you're a trustee for a fund. Is that issue as strong in Israel as in the United States? I mean, I can tell you it's very strong in the United States.
Well, in Israel, people are not so much aware like in the United States, I have to tell you this. It's surprising, but the minute that I heard about the problem with the Generali, they used to insure people in East Europe before the Second World War.
Originally, they were a Jewish insurance company, I think, from Italy. Am I right?
Yeah, the head of this company was Jewish at that time. And, the war break, and then a lot of people, of course, disappear in the Holocaust, and their families today, they started to remember that their parents or families, they had insurance policies, which, according to the regular law, you can't. It's not a case to call them to It's not a legal case.
Yeah, you can't take an action against
you
them.
can't take an action. It's not a legal case,
Right.
but morality. So we had to push them and to put a big pressure on them. And I can tell you that I'm very happy with the result, because they came up with a program about right now $12 million to give to those families, even legally they don't deserve, but morally they will give. And I made a committee with one of the Supreme Court judges. He is the head of this committee, and other public figures, and they will handle with this situation.
So this was due to your intercession that the Generali set up a $12 million fund.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's the attitude of these companies? Are they willing to go forward? You know, the Swiss banks originally were reluctant, and then all of a sudden they became a little more active. And then when the New York City stopped making deposits there overnight, they became a little more active than that. And I had a woman on my show who was a Hasidic woman who started a law action, a legal action in the United States courts against the banks. I mean, that's how dramatic it is in the United States. When you met with I assume you met with the Generali people?
Yes, I did.
Were they conciliatory?
Well, the Generali company, they have interest in Israel. They're partnership with Israeli companies.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that the only reason that they came up with a solution was just because they have business in Israel. I think it was more of being in a position to explain them the situation and to put on their shoulder the moral situation about it. And
You think they had guilt?
Not so much of guilt, but they wanted to be okay. They wanted to be all right with the.
They wanted the perception of them to become positive.
That's right. Yeah.
Rabbi, you're a very intelligent man, and you know that you signed on the Oslo Agreement. So what is your relationship to the PLO at this point?
Well, this is the organization, which probably they are the biggest organizations by the Palestinians. So if you want to do something, you want to negotiate with someone, so probably the address is the leaders of the PLO. So if a delegation of the finance committee of the PLO legislator came here and they want to meet with you people, would you have any reluctance to meet with them? Well, I will ask the Prime Minister what is he thinking about it, because he's the leader of making the negotiations. So right. If it wouldn't be against the interests of Israel, I would meet with him. But you say something very interesting, that there is a de facto state right now, because they do have a flag, they do have they have a pretty big army considering, I think too big for what the Oslo Agreement said. Right. They have the indicia, they have recognition from other nations, which is also an indicia. Abba Eben on his show said that basically they're a de facto state. They could, if tomorrow Yasser Arafat wanted to declare himself a state, 140 nations would recognize him. I would say yes and no, because according to the agreement, they don't have a right, and we could stop it, to bring all the refugees, which is maybe another 2 million, to bring them to this little country. And they have to be demilitarized. So this is not actually signs of the independent state. If they can't make a decision to bring in everyone who they wish, so like we could. So this is not a sign of an independent state. And this is very important for us. We can't agree to make, I don't know if you call it a state or whatever, a name. The names is not so important, but we can't agree that next to Israel, between Israel and Jordan, should be another little state of so many millions of Arabs who really don't accept us.
You told me when we were talking off camera that the perception that Netanyahu is being torn apart and he's not well liked and is in trouble is not true. That you think, and many other ministers that you talk to think he's doing a pretty good job. Is that correct?
Well, I could tell you, when I have a meeting with him, together with groups, with ministers, he's doing a very good job. He's understanding, he's fair. I know people are saying he's not telling the truth. Could he tell the truth? When he asked to negotiate at the same time with the Palestinians from one side, with Mrs. Albright from the other side, and from the right wing from the third side, and with himself, could he say the truth? Is he allowed to say out loud the truth to everyone? It's not easy.
It's not easy being a prime minister of Israel. That I can tell you.
And he's not a Rosh Yeshiva in a yeshiva. He's not a rabbi. He's a politician. And he has to go around those all different contrast groups.
Absolutely.
And to survive in Israel. So I never heard about this, that this is something, a leak by a government in a situation like this that is not telling out loud the truth to everybody?
Well, Yitzhak Shamir, the former prime minister.
Oh yeah, he could be quiet. Yitzhak Shamir didn't tell nothing. He didn't say anything, so then he could say the truth.
Well, he said on our show that he felt Netanyahu was a man without principles. There is a movement by Yitzhak Shamir, Moshe Aaron's, Shimon Peres to try and bring the old law back, which takes away direct election of prime minister. What are your feelings about that?
Well, when I'll be old, I don't know when it will happen. I hope
the
it will be.
The Bible says when you're wise, you're old. So you're probably old now.
I would also probably want to come back. So
he said something else, Yitzhak Shamir. He said no one over 70 should really be a prime minister because of the physical ability that it takes to govern this country.
He was a prime minister over 70.
Right.
He was not a bad one.
And his most favorite president was Reagan, and he was over 70.
Yeah.
Run me through a few names. Ben-Gurion, what did he mean to you?
He was a big leader in Israel. I mean, I didn't agree with a lot of things that he did. I think he did a lot of mistakes, but it's no question about it that he was a leader. He took upon himself to make very, very historical positions.
Do you think he was fair to Torah Jews?
No, he wasn't fair. I think he wasn't fair.
Levi Eshkol?
Levi Eshkol was a balabatisha mensch, if you
good
know
Yiddish.
what this
well,
means.
He was a good man.
Yeah.
And a good Yiddish storyteller.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't have a position of ideological kind of positions. He was...
Caretaker.
Caretaker, that's it.
Menachem Begin?
Menachem Begin was fair to Torah Judaism. Yeah, he was fair.
Why the necessity for all these religious parties? It used to be that the National Religious Party was really running the show, in a sense, for religious parties. And now you have the Shas Party, you have Degel Ha'torah, you have a lot of different parties. Is that because you have different thoughts about how the religion should be viewed in the country?
Not so much about how the religion should be viewed in the country, like we ourselves were different in how we're expressing our religious behavior. Like if you take the National Religious Party, they're different than us, but it's not such a big difference. But Jewish people, they like, if they're a little bit different,
a lot of shuls, a lot of synagogues.
So they made a lot of synagogues. So, but we are working together in the Knesset with all the religious parties. And some of my good friends are non-religious.
Rabbi, it's a pleasure to meet you, and it's the first time we've met, and I've been in this country a long time. You know that the country is divided about 50-50 today. I mean, if you had a vote, there was a very close vote for Netanyahu, no matter how you look at it. You're a Talmudic scholar. What prophecy, what do you vision here? How do you overcome this split, basically, in Israeli society?
Well, if you take America, for instance, could you say America is also split between the two parties?
But America is based on pluralism because that's what we stand for. Israel is a Jewish state.
Yeah, so it will always be two parties here. And in between these two parties would be the religious parties. And that's why God made us to be on this time of the history in order we should be able to make a good Jewish influence on the Israeli society. And no matter which government would be. I can tell you this, I had negotiations with Mr. Rabin, the late Mr. Rabin, and with Mr. Peres, and with Shamir. Every one of them, they wanted to accept us and to listen to us, and also to let us have a kind of a power in order to influence the Israeli society. I think it's very important if we want to survive as a Jewish country.
So what you're saying is very interesting, that you people in the middle, the religious parties, sort of not control but influence how the country will move.
We will influence. We have to influence, because if we wouldn't have an influence in the country, we might not be able to survive as an independent country in the Middle East. Because the only reason why we could survive for many, many years from now, many generations from now, is because we are a Jewish people in a Jewish country. If we would, God forgive, will lose our identity as a Jewish people, you wouldn't be able to survive it.
What is a Jew to you, Rabbi? How do you define it?
Well, I'm not in a position of investigation about every individual if he's Jewish or
no.
not.
In principle, if someone says...
I think if he's Jewish because he belongs to the Jewish people,
that's it.
He has a Jewish identity, and he wants to continue with this.
And what is Zionism?
Well, this is too much of a hard question for me in our generation. I could tell you what was Zionism. Zionism was an organization who made a lot of things to help the independence of Israel, to bring here Jewish people. Today, it's something that a lot of Zionists can't answer you this question. They don't know themselves.
So, again, it's very interesting that today, after you have the Jewish state, it's very difficult to define what means Zionism.
That's right.
And is the Zionist Congress going on next door? The 100th
I
anniversary?
think they'll negotiate who should be the head of this organization, but I'm not sure that they will make a session about asking this hard question, what does this mean today to be a Zionist?
Can one be a Jew without following the Torah?
Oh yeah. If he feels that he belongs. I'm not talking about halachadik, that he is Jewish.
Right, no,
well,
right.
But if he feels that he belongs, so maybe he is not keeping all the commandments, so his children will do that. He belongs here, and he's Jewish.
One of the questions that always bothered me as a youngster when I came to Israel is when the religious parties were in politics, if they made a compromise, let's say they would say the buses in Haifa could run on Saturday, on Shabbat, but in Jerusalem, no. How do you bring that together as a religious experience if you're a politician?
Well, as a politician, I know the first commandment as a politician is to be smart and to know how to make compromises. You have to live together with all the people. Not everyone is religious. Not everyone understands what it means to be Jewish. Even so, he is Jewish. So you can't force the individuals. You could try to influence the public life. You could try to teach people about Judaism, but you can't force people. And you have to be smart, as I said.
Do you have children, Rabbi?
Yes, I have 12 children.
Thank God. Would you like them to be in politics?
No.
Why?
I think they could do something for themselves, much more important things for themselves, in order to build their personality, to learn Torah. I think it's much more important for a person to do so than to be a part of the politics life.
All right, I'm going to let you go because I know you're going to get back to the budget. It was really a pleasure to have you on. And if you're in New York, please come see us.
I will do.
You've heard it from Rabbi Avraham Ravitz, a fascinating man who has a terrifically different point of view than a lot of people in the United States. But we think that you should hear him because he's certainly a very intelligent and bright man. And we're back. We're now talking to Efraim Sneh, who's a member of the Labor Party. And Efraim, we did an interview with you in New York, and we talked about a lot of things. At that time, your party was in power, I believe. Things have changed a little bit. We did an interview now with Avraham Ravitz, the head of the Finance Committee, and it's a big job today. He said unequivocally that there'll be a budget by the 31st. What's your opinion?
Maybe a budget, but without some of the amendments that the government tried to incorporate in the budget bill. For instance, there is one thing that for sure will not be there is all the amendments or most of the amendments regarding the healthcare services. There is a tendency of the government to slash its commitment or its share in paying the health expenses and to shift it to the pocket of the citizens. It's not going to work, and there are some other amendments like limiting the new drugs that are introduced to the services. It will not be accepted.
That's very harsh. And you're a doctor, aren't you?
I'm a doctor. I'm a former Minister of Health in Rabin's cabinet.
Right.
And I just now met David Levy, the foreign minister. I met other Likud senior members of the Knesset, and it's quite clear that Likud members, NRP members, will not vote for the amendments that the finance minister, Mr. Neiman, is trying to legislate. It will not work.
Not going to happen.
We will not let him.
This is the anatomy of a budget at the Knesset, and we're giving it to you live, in a sense, tape on live, but you'll see the different factions and the tensions that are going on. It's a big tension. Now, under the law, if they don't have a budget by the 31st, he gets 3 months, Netanyahu, to try and put it together. If not, the government collapses.
It's a sort of a grace period or a test period where the government can work, can function without a budget, but it is limited to 3 months, and if by March 31st there is no budget, there is no government, and within 60 days there are new elections here in Israel.
What's the possibility of that, Efraim?
You know that in our country everything is possible.
You getting prepared?
I'm always prepared. I hope that my party is prepared.
I had told Rabbi Ravitz that I had talked to Ruby Rivlin, I talked to Benny Begin. A lot of these fellows are ready to go down on the budget issue in the event that Bibi Netanyahu makes some kind of compromise to the Palestinians. Big issue in the country today. What do you think?
I know that some of the hardliners in the coalition want to keep the budget issue as a leverage over Netanyahu's head. It just reflects how fragile is Netanyahu's coalition. You can see it, it's very visible in the plenary, in the voting. It's fragile. It's in the process of dismantling. He can't put them together. a coalition with internal contradictions. There are too many hungry partners that Mr. Neyman can't feed them all.
Rabbi Ravitz just said I said there was a perception that Bibi Netanyahu doesn't tell the truth. And he said, well, what do you want? If a man's a politician and he's in a negotiation, do you expect him to tell the truth? Do you buy that concept?
Totally no.
Are you a yeshiva graduate?
No, I'm a medical school graduate, and I'm totally against it. You have to say the truth always.
Now,
I think we are from a different school of thought.
Different yeshiva.
Yes.
Big issue. You're a former military man. Efraim was a brigadier general, head of the territories. A map was submitted to the Americans, or a plan, or call it an agreement. I don't know what it was. Anyway, what's going on in this country is it says that basically Netanyahu did not support the military on this plan that was given to the Palestinians and the Americans, and now the military is a little bit upset. And you, former military man, give me some commentary on that.
At first, the facts. There was a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between Israel, the Palestinian Authorities, by American mediation of the CIA senior officials. They formulated a document with 16 paragraphs, I think very favorable to our interest, very good for Israel. The general who headed the team on our part, Yanai, he reported to Netanyahu on the way to the meeting with Secretary Albright about all the details. It was okay, and suddenly Netanyahu said, no, I do not endorse it, I don't approve it. Probably because of pressure from the hardliners in the coalition.
I'm sure it didn't come from Meretz.
No, I think so, no. And now the Prime Minister put the blame that the generals did a floppy work.
Oh,
it's not the case. It's very unfair. They are professionals. They are doing excellent jobs. They are the best in the world.
You're plugged into the military, obviously, still today. Are they upset?
They are upset. I think it's an insult if he blames them that they didn't do a good job. They did a very good job. I think it satisfies all Netanyahu's demands for reciprocity, for responsibility of the Palestinian side to combat terrorism. I counted 7 out of 16 paragraphs of the memorandum are targeted at the Palestinians' duties to fight terrorism.
Really?
Yes. There are other...
Is this a public document, by the way?
Yesterday, everything, there is no secrets in this country.
It was leaked.
It was in the paper.
Right.
All the 16...
So you, as a former brigadier general and administrator of the West Bank territories, and a guy who cares about security for this country, and you've shown it with your brigadier general's tattoo on your shoulder, you were satisfied with that agreement?
I think Netanyahu was satisfied.
So
he didn't say a word against it.
So the pressure just came from the right wing, and
that's what happened, I think.
But that's what's going on in the country, Efraim. There's a split in this country that's unparalleled, probably. You know, your father was the leader of the Communist Party. I don't have to tell you. You could tell me. You think we should go back to communism?
No. We shouldn't be swept that far. But there is a very big rift here, very deep rift in this country.
And it's practically 50-50, isn't it?
Let's call election and we shall see. Maybe it's 52-48.
Yitzhak Shamir on this show about 4 weeks ago said Bibi Netanyahu, a man that he really created, is a man totally without principles.
He brought him to politics. He has to know.
Do you agree with that statement?
No, I think it's a mistake. I think that Netanyahu has convictions of his own. I think he is truly hardliner. I think he genuinely against Palestinian state. That's why he against any concrete and tangible progress in the peace process, because it inevitably leads to agreement where Palestinian state is a part and parcel.
So you
of it.
believe that it's really his conviction what he's doing
Yes,
today?
I think that people mistake him for being someone without principles. No,
He's not a pragmatic personality in a sense.
he has convictions, but unfortunately, he has the wrong convictions.
Well, they don't agree with yours. But that's interesting. I mean, because Shamir was pretty adamant in that. It's interesting to hear from you from the Labor Party side. Now let's talk about your titular head or your real head, Ehud Barak. There's perception that the party internally doesn't really move with him that well, and he's sort of a loner also, isn't he?
Well, the party now is at the end of a process of changing of guards.
Right.
And on Sunday we elect a Secretary General for the party.
You did.
We're supposed to do it on next Sunday.
Who's it going to be?
Ranan Cohen, I believe. Dr. Ranan Cohen, member of the Knesset. And I believe that through a very short time we will be able to shape a collective leadership where Mr. Barak is the head of it, and we shall do by far better. And we shall work better as a group, not just...
Was it easy to convince him to be a collective leader?
I think that he's convinced now.
It was a little bit of a job, though.
Well, but I think the point is that the new law of direct election of
creates that type of personality.
It creates a built-in antagonism between the candidate for primaryship and his party.
That's true.
It's a built-in contradiction, and what we try to do now in the party is to soften this contradiction.
Very interesting.
And what I tried, and I said it publicly in our national convention last month, I told Ehud that we have to soften the antagonism, to neutralize it as far as possible, that the leader, the candidate for primaryship, and the party will work together for the same aim, for the same target.
Efraim, the Americans, we're good people, we've helped Israel a lot. Do you think the American administration is getting a bit uptight with the Netanyahu administration?
There is tension. The worst is that the personal trust between the president and the administration on one side and the Israeli prime minister on the other side, there is no more personal trust that we witnessed in the past with Golda, with Shamir, with Begin. Even in the time of dispute and bitter dispute, there was personal trust, and now we don't have it, and it's very bad for the interest of our country, because the alliance with the United States is the #1 strategic asset of Israel. And there is another asset that we are going to lose it, I'm afraid, is our alliance with the Jewish people, with the diaspora, with the American Jewish community. I sense alienation that we get apart, and we have to kill the law of conversion, because it will split the Jewish people forever. It will be disaster, and I hope that we shall be able to prevent it.
Well, I can confirm two things for you, that during the period of time when I worked between these governments, that no matter what happened between Jimmy Carter and Menachem Begin, there was always a deep personal respect, which was never lost. And if you talk to Jimmy Carter today, he'll tell you he has great respect for Begin. Begin will tell you the same thing, no matter what. They always said this personal relationships. I think you're right, and it's very dangerous. On the second issue, Rabbi Ravitz, who was seen right before you, said he doesn't think it's a big issue in Israel.
Ooh, it's a big issue. Because
again, you went to different yeshivas.
Okay. I think it's very important. The fact that there is, from the two sides of the ocean, there is confidence, there is trust. It's essential for the U.S.-Israeli partnership. And without this tight, sound partnership, we are in trouble.
Last question. Is Shimon Peres going to make a comeback in the Labor Party?
I don't think that he thinks so. I told you there is a process of changing of guards in our leadership. I think that...
but you also said anything could happen in Israel.
You're right.
That's the last word, and you've had it. Two diametrically opposed individuals, both of them very intelligent, terrific backgrounds, good Israelis, good Jews. Make your own decision. We'll see you next week.